In Israel, they said that not all of the security team in Israel, some cabinet members were not informed about this attack, and not everyone in the military delegation approved of this attack in this current climate. Which means what? Number one, none of them have a problem with the attack. They just have a problem with the timing. Two, major figures and the majority of political figures and in Israeli media and everyone was celebrating this attack on Qatar. So the opposition, the pro-Netanyahu, everyone. There is no light Zionist and right. There is a Zionist. All of them are Zionists who support this barbaric terrorist attack against another sovereign state that hasn't done anything bad to them, by the way, as it has helped them get their prisoners of war back and mediated between deals. Qatar does not get involved in anything to do with wars, and despite that, they went and attacked them. Now, what did Qatar respond with, and what are the expected escalation coming following this? There were a couple of statements coming out from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Qatar, and also from the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Qatar, who made a statement in relation to this escalation and spoke about the potential responses that would come after this. And in his statement, he said that this was a terror attack coming from Israel, that this is an attack against the Qatari sovereignty, that he asked the question, Netanyahu, who is a passing leader, and his state is like a passing state, a temporary state, they're starting to use different terminology, that they conducted an attack against a negotiating delegation in an area that is a civilian area. And is this part of Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to continue with the changing of the Middle East? Does he also mean changing the shape of the Gulf states? He said that this is a terrorist attack against Qatar. They're taking action now to discuss the response and the potential response. And he also called out all of the friendly countries of Qatar to have a unified response against Israel. Now, despite the fact that this country and other countries too haven't been participating, we know that very well, the moment they get hit, things start changing. Like when Iran got hit, things started changing, not before that. Iran responded to Israel when Iran was hit, basing the response on the assassination of this leader and that leader and the people of Gaza, but after they got hit, after their sovereignty was targeted. Therefore, this means that it would not be a surprise if there would be a genuine response. It's the moment of truth now for the Arab countries. You thought that this approach of not having any sort of hostility against Israel, saying that we're going to play on the safe side, demanding the international community, to condemn them, and we condemn this and we condemn that, thinking that it can help up until the fire comes to your backyard, after you start to get bitten. Now is the time for all of them to put all of their differences aside and unite against the one common enemy of the whole entirety of humanity. And this is where Benjamin Netanyahu is leading to, by the way, because Qatar isn't the end station, isn't the last target. No, the bank of targets constantly expands. I told you about what they were talking about Jordan a couple of weeks ago. The East Bank belongs to Israel, the government. Sinai belongs to Israel. Another minister was passing leaflets and selling t-shirts that Sinai belongs to Israel last year. All of that is happening. An escalation with Turkey, an escalation with Egypt, which brings me to the next targets. the next targets after Qatar now are going to be Egypt and Turkey. The Hamas delegations go to Egypt, the Hamas delegations go to Turkey. Israel, despite their intelligence, despite their knowledge of the power of Egypt and Turkey, despite their strategic importance in the region, that will not stop them from carrying out attacks against them. And that will take things to a completely different level. The tensions have been only brewing for the past 2 years between Israel and Egypt, Israel and Turkey, Israel and everyone around it. And the time that Israel would decide to attack these countries would be the time that they attack it. That is, unless some of them will, and there's a chance that they would, take the lesson, understand the lesson from Qatar, from this attack against Qatar, because this attack proves that Israel is heading towards more escalation. And now we have, for the first time, calls coming from Qatar to respond to Israel, calls to unite the Arab world to have a response against Israel. If you're not going to get there, they're going to be in your capital. They're going to be targeting your backyard. They're going to be killing your people. There is no justification to such attack. Like a terrorist, by the definition of a Zionist, that's automatically invalid, whether it's a blatant Zionist or a hidden Zionist. That is an attack against the country. And they killed a Qatari member of security was killed in this attack. And the leaders weren't killed, by the way. So they need to understand that this is going ahead. This is going ahead, and all of them are going to be targets to Israel. This is not going to stop with Qatar. Qatar is just a station. Benjamin Netanyahu and all of his talk about the greater Israel, what do you think? That this stops Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, other parts, up to Kuwait, some of their map state. Now, let's talk about how Israel conducted this attack. Because, again, you know, there have been conflicting reports in Israel too, okay? Some people are denying that all of this was arranged like only in the past few hours. Some reports said that, you know, we got specific intel and we ordered the fighter jets to go to Qatar several hours before the meeting so that they can be there when the meeting happens and they can target them and kill them. And by the way, with the level of missiles that Israel landed, this was clearly a targeted assassination happening there, but that clearly failed in taking down the leadership, which means it didn't work. Simple. But what did Israel do exactly? So Israel had multiple fighter jets going to Qatar. They had an F-35, 2 F-16s, and 1 F-15, 1,800 kilometers from Israel. The operation was managed in coordination between the Israeli Mossad and the Israeli Shin Bet. The Israeli Shin Bet has also external operations. They deal hand in hand with Israel. And information that they got, according to them, according to reports in Israel, was saying that the entire leadership of Hamas is going to be having a meeting in Qatar. The political echelon in Israel approved the decision several weeks back to have an attack against the Hamas leadership. Therefore, this didn't just come out of nowhere. And they spoke about it, by the way. They said they will have no impunity anywhere. They're not protected anywhere. Now, the moment came, they had this attack and they targeted the location. This was one of the places that they targeted. Of course, the Qatari authorities, they banned direct live footage from happening when they were taking away, the martyrs and the wounded from the location. But some images were, of course, published, and some other videos as well. Now, another thing that they stated in Israel is that several people were monitoring in the center of operations: the Minister of the Defense, the Deputy Chief of the Shin Bet, the Chief of Staff, and the Air Force Commander, and the head of the military intelligence, after the green light was granted by Benjamin Netanyahu. And 10 bombs, the Benjamin Netanyahu and the genocide minister, Israel Katz. Israel said that they landed 10 bombs only with seconds apart, and that anyone who was targeted had no chance to survive, which again proved to be not correct. It proved to be wrong, because Hamas showed you that, it failed, and none of the leadership was actually killed. The son of Khalil Hayya was indeed martyred. One of the manager of the office of Al-Hayya also was martyred, alongside 2 others, and of course 1 Qatari security staff. Okay, and these were some of the images that were circulating on the day, coming from Doha. What is the likelihood now, that's the big question, of something happening after this attack from Israel? And what are the next steps? Well, number one, for anyone who didn't get it yet, Israel and the United States are not interested in anything to do with de-escalation. This has been proven time after time, and this just heightens and strengthens the argument that both of the countries, both Israel and the US, are not interested in de-escalation. They are targeting countries in a calculated manner, and the reason that I say targeting, it's because both of them work in total coordination, both Israel and the United States. And Trump, he can deny as much as he wants, he can pretend like he doesn't know. Trump is directly participating in this with Benjamin Netanyahu. If Donald Trump did not want these attacks against Qatar, then he could have banned Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, of course, there's an argument that Benjamin Netanyahu can take decisions on his own, but still he has to have some sort of coordination with the United States. It doesn't work without the United States. Israel is now heading towards more escalation. This was just the beginning. And depending on the involvement or response coming from Qatar, because the foreign minister said in the next few days they're going to be studying how to respond to this attack, and they're going to be speaking with all of the friends of Qatar to have a unified response to this attack, Israel could declare Qatar as an enemy state. They're not declared as an enemy state so far. And if they declare them as an enemy state, then Israel could start having attacks against Qatar like we haven't seen before. However, that wouldn't stop there. Netanyahu and the Israeli leadership have been speaking about opportunities that they will never have in decades. These opportunities include measures that Israel would take to expand its borders, measures that Israel would take against what it describes as its enemies, and measures that Israel would take to escalate things further in the region to the liking of Benjamin Netanyahu and his genocide entity. And for as long as Netanyahu wants, a lot of this, it's not exclusive to, but a lot of it is depending on Benjamin Netanyahu. If Benjamin Netanyahu's political situation and legal situation in Israel allowed him to end the war without any repercussions, he would have. But that's not the case. Of course, Israel in its entirety is a genocidal, ethnic cleansing, supremacist entity. It's a Jewish supremacy oppressing the Palestinian people. They've had ethnic cleansing. They've killed hundreds of thousands. So Benjamin Netanyahu is their produce, is the produce of Zionism. Shows you the true reality of this sick, depraved ideology and all of its followers. Now, he is prolonging all of this so that he can have a limitless, endless war. Netanyahu from what he's doing in the past couple of months, let alone the past 2 years, but especially in the past couple of months, because there have been approvals of ceasefires, there has been acceptance of a ceasefire from the Palestinian side. Benjamin Netanyahu always makes it impossible. And even, by the way, let me tell you this from now, if the Palestinian resistance said tomorrow, we're handing in our weapons and we're getting out of Gaza, the war is not going to stop. Netanyahu will come out with another reason to continue the genocide in Gaza. Remnant cells, people, we want to change the identity, we want to make sure. He will come up with any excuse, like he came up with so many excuses. The things that he is doing now are proving that he wants an even longer war with more escalation to reach other countries in the region.